Let's update you on events in the Middle East. Israeli President Herzog has received a letter from President Trump asking him to grant a pardon to Benjamin Netanyahu. The Prime Minister has been facing a long-running corruption trial, and President Trump has repeatedly asked for a pardon for his close ally. Benjamin Netanyahu was indicted in 2019 in 3 cases, including allegations of receiving more than $200,000 in gifts from billionaires in exchange for political favours. Mr. Netanyahu denies the charges and has pleaded not guilty. Well, in the letter shared by Mr. Herzog's office, Trump said, "While I absolutely respect the independence of the Israeli justice system and its requirements, I believe that this case against Bibi, who has fought alongside me for a long time, including against the very tough adversary of Israel, Iran, is a political, unjustified prosecution." Let's take you to our Middle East correspondent, Yolande Nell, who joins us now from Jerusalem. Yolande, what is the remit of Israel's president here, and has he responded?
So Israel's president can give presidential pardons, and in his comments from his office, he said that there are established procedures for that, and there must be a formal request for a presidential pardon. Of course, the Israeli Prime Minister has denied any wrongdoing in his
Seem to be having problems with our connection to Jerusalem at the moment. More on that, though, and the latest that is happening in the Middle East as well. An update to bring you on the dozens of Israeli settlers who have carried out an arson attack targeting Palestinian factories and farmland in the north of the occupied West Bank. Several Palestinians were injured. This is the latest in a surge of attacks in recent weeks linked to the olive harvest, which officially began on the 9th of October. The harvest is an age-old part of Palestinian culture. It is also an economic necessity for many, but is increasingly precarious. Farmers across the occupied West Bank face heightened risk during harvest season, including organised assaults by settlers and the use of force by Israeli security forces to block roads and Palestinians' access to their lands. Settlers are the people who live in Israeli settlements, which are illegal colonies established on Israeli-occupied Palestinian territories. Last week, a UN report said that Israeli settlers launched at least 264 attacks in October, the largest number since the UN began tracking incidents in 2006. In this latest case, the Israeli military says its troops were attacked when they detained 4 Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank. We can take you back to Yolande. We've re-established the connection with her, our Middle East correspondent, joining us from Jerusalem. We'll get back to the letter that has been sent from President Trump to Isaac Herzog in a moment, Yolande. But firstly, what is the latest in terms of this settler attack in the occupied West Bank?
So one of the latest, most dramatic attacks has been in the north of the West Bank, where dozens of masked settlers could be seen on a hillside in footage. There were then these attacks on a Palestinian Bedouin village where tents were set ablaze, and there were men afterwards with their heads bandaged by Palestinian paramedics in the videos that can be seen. There were also attacks on a Palestinian dairy warehouse, lorries that were set on fire as well. And the Israeli military says that it tried to detain suspects, and then its soldiers were also attacked. Those suspects since handed over to Israeli police, we understand. In general, in such cases, there are complaints from Palestinians that there is impunity for the settlers. They say this is one of the factors that has driven a surge in settler violence recently. And they say that the aim of the settlers is really to intimidate them, to spread fear and try to drive Palestinians off their own land.
And Yolande, you were explaining to us about the remit of the Israeli president and whether there had been an official response from his office to this call from President Trump to pardon Benjamin Netanyahu.
So his office decided to publish the letter that came through from President Trump. This extraordinary intervention really in Israeli domestic affairs. Even though Mr. Trump is somebody who we know is being outspoken, he's made no secret of his support for his close ally, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He spoke to the Israeli Parliament last month and he said to them, cigars and champagne, who the hell cares about that? Referring to alleged alleged bribes in one of the cases against Mr. Netanyahu. He denies all wrongdoing in his ongoing trial. The Israeli President Isaac Herzog does have this power to give a pardon, but he has said that there are established procedures and he has to have a formal request for a presidential pardon.
Where are we at in terms of his corruption trial, Yolande?
I mean, that trial is ongoing and it's still considered to be to have a long way to run. That is something that really has continued to overshadow Israeli politics. And, you know, previous Israeli elections were very much influenced by this ongoing legal action against the prime minister. It's seen as being something that very much kind of, you know, overshadows the Israeli political scene. There are those, of course, close to Mr. Netanyahu who believe that this is just a political witch hunt. That's what the Prime Minister has said himself. He wants to see these cases against him thrown out. But many ordinary Israelis are very shocked, I think, by the fact that the US president has just been so ready to get involved in you know, the affairs of another country, especially a close ally. Although Mr. Trump does write in his letter that he does, you know, accept, he absolutely respects, he says, the independence of the Israeli justice system, but he says he believes this is a political, unjustified prosecution.
Yolande, thank you so much.